Hey, we're live. Oh my gosh, here we are again. Day 3 of the Joypreneur Summit. We are in interview number 5. Whoop, 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 whoop. I am so glad you are here and joining me for this. We are going to have such a nice interview. I know you're going to be excited to meet Sandy. I'm going to tell you all about her in just a minute, but I want to take a second and just get you up to date so that you can get the most benefit from this interview and from all the things that are happening. Yes, hi, everybody saying welcome. Yes, we are. We are excited and ready to go. I love it. Kim, come on in, post your comments. If you have any questions for Sandy, now's the time to ask. If you are just jumping in or you haven't done it yet, do look for the links in the description, because in the description, what you're going to find is a link to get everybody in the summit's freebies. You're going to get freebies from everybody in the summit and all of our sponsors. So you're going to want to go and check out the link in the description, opt in, make sure to, go to the page, check out everything that's available. Know that it's just a fraction on day 3 of what's available, because we've got day 4 and all the other speakers in the summit and all of our sponsors. We're looking at something like over 40 things that you're going to get for free. And it all starts by opting in with a link in the description. Also in the description, wait a minute, wait till you see what I've got for you. If you haven't checked out the Positive Mindset Entrepreneurs Club, you definitely want to. If you're tired of building your business with hard work and effort and listening to the peanut gallery tell you all these things you have to do to build your business, well, come over to our side, come over to the happy side. Positive Mindset Entrepreneurs Club, we know mindset matters most. And when you lead with your feel good, when you get happy, everything else gets easier. You show up as your best self, you get better ideas, you see those opportunities that are on the radar, you're using your best brain. And when you sign up now, limited time offer, I will send you the pen of expectation in the mail. This is the pen of expectation. Everything you write with it will come true. And yes, I do ship worldwide. Now, if you're already in the club and say, hey, I want one of those pens, go check out the post I made yesterday. There's a way for you to get one too. All of you who are coming in and joining now, I see you coming in. Say hi. That's right. Woohoo. Let's get this party started, right? I love it. Thanks for that, Laura. Okay, so I cannot wait. Let's do it. Let's jump right in and talk to Sandy. Sandy Kretzschmar is a past life adventurer. Don't you love that title? Take that in for a minute. Past life adventurer. For 40 years, she's followed clues and discovered that her former incarnations, they were like characters in different historical novels. She's aware of at least 25 different past lives. She's just finished her first novel, and she's here to talk with us about what it's like to experience that, realize that you have a past life, what it's like to put it all on paper, get it into a novel, and how you can tap into your intuition, how you can tap into your own knowing, and also how you can step into the world even when what you say might be considered kind of strange, right? So we've got a lot of ground to cover with Sandy. Everybody, please welcome Sandy Kretzschmar. Yay! The crowd goes wild. Hey, Sandy, how are you?
I am really good and happy and delighted to be here. Absolutely delighted. Yeah.
I'm so happy that you're here too. We're going to have such a good time. So I think probably the most pressing question on everybody's mind is, how did you figure out that you had a past life? Like, tell us the experience of discovering Julia, of being Julia. So please.
Well, my husband and I studied past life books, stories for 2 years, and it never really sank into me whether it was true or not true. And I got to the point of thinking, I have to know. And I did the celebrity stance without realizing it. I planted my feet on my doormat copy of Botticelli's Venus Rising from the Sea. And I said, please, God, give me 3 things. One, it was, I want a psychic adventure. I want to know all my past lives. and something else. And about 2 months later, I was in the San Francisco Art Museum, and three really weird things happened. A voice back here said, "Someone you know is here." Then in the next room, a man fainted at my feet. And in the third room, oh, I forgot. I got him. Sorry, I got him reversed. I set off an alarm. Then the man fainted at my feet. Then the voice said, "Someone you know is here." And I'd had that experience before in Kmart, and it led me to a long lost friend from high school. So I wasn't scared. I accepted it. And I was looking at the crowd, and I didn't see anyone familiar except the friend I was traveling with. And the voice kept saying, "Someone you know is here." And I was getting frustrated with that. And finally, the voice said, "Open your brochure." I had tucked it in my pocket. So I opened the brochure. And on the last fold, there was a color photograph of the Augustus of Prima Porta statue, the one where he's holding a cloak and he's pointing like so. And I felt that in that moment, I knew he had come all the way from Rome for me. I never liked Roman artifacts. I never liked studying about Rome, but that a photo in art history class of that one statue, when I saw it, I said to the stranger sitting beside me, "Now there's a man I wish I had known." And here he was, only rooms
Wow.
away.
Wow.
So I told my friend, I have to go, I have to find this. She was having her own issue being drawn into a painting hanging on the wall. And so I raced through 9 rooms. I didn't pay any attention to the guards. And I came to the largest room, and there were 3 white statues. There was a male nude, a bear, and Augustus on a high marble pedestal plinth. And I was traumatized at the sight of him. I had rushed there in great joy. But when I actually saw this, the statue had stains from the ages, and it almost looked like flesh. And I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to think. I was grieving. I was crying. I couldn't move. And finally, I made myself my way up to the statue. And I knew that something to do with him had great to do with me and him, and great, tremendous love and tremendous grief. And I thought, this is nuts. Who's going to tell me what this means? How am I ever going to know? And if they told me, if some psychic said something, why should I believe them? So
Hold on, because I
yeah,
mean it's fantastic, and I'm wondering if the power of the emotions that you felt was kind of your indicator that
yes,
you felt like it was true. And so, like, for example, let's say somebody here is listening in and they've gone somewhere, maybe they've gone to Tulum, Mexico or something, and they get there and they're overwhelmed with some kind of powerful emotions. Do you feel like, did you have doubts about it as you were on this journey, or did you feel like you were the emotions were just so powerful that it felt like it had to be true?
I felt it had to be true because I learned to, by that time, to listen to my emotions. How could my emotions react that way when I'd only seen him before in a photograph? And there's other situations I've had also where my emotions were hysterical.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to admit, what is going on here? So there's an old memory. There's the emotional part of an old memory. How do I put the pieces together?
Yeah. And so
Mhm.
what was the next step for you? You know, because some people would have had that experience and they'd have gone like, well, that was weird. And it would have been a party story, you know, for a decade. But you actually
Mhm.
ended up, this launched you writing a novel about this. What
Mhm.
what brought that on? What were the next steps that made it feel like, oh my gosh, I want to tell this story about what it's like to remember a past life and what that past life was?
I had been going around saying, I'm going to write a great spiritual journey, but what is it? What is it? I didn't know what it was. And I lived with this for a long time before I realized, wait a minute, it's the story I'm living. I got into more cosmic coincidences happened. I was led to a wall-eyed psychic who had this giant crystal ball. And I didn't want to be there, but there I was. And if she said, dear, I want you to take my crystal ball home for 30 days. I said, no, I don't know what to do. I don't have anything to do with crystal balls. She said, it needs something from you. You need something from it. And so I lugged it home on the passenger seat in my car in the ice chest with my frozen Cokes. And 3 weeks at home, I couldn't figure out, what am I supposed to do with a crystal ball? And that led me to channeled spirit teachers. Someone said, there's a new channeler in town and maybe the spirits can tell you. I thought, okay, this is just, if I never do another crazy thing, I have to do this. And I was very nervous with spirit channeling, but they led me along a path slowly. I had to wake up slowly. It was too much of a shock. And the information finally came from, I studied with 2 spirit channelers. It came from another woman who was a conscious channeler. She could walk around the room and talk to you and still bring in information. And she finally said, you were his daughter. And I broke down in tears because that is the information I was avoiding and avoiding and avoiding. I had studied about him, his family. The daughter was popular, witty, but was betrayed and exiled by her father.
Oh.
That's the
so
grief.
hence the joy and the grief. Okay, I got that.
Yes.
Okay, so okay.
Yeah.
So I'm oh, please continue. I don't want to interrupt you.
Well, there's just so much. Yeah, go ahead.
I know there is. Okay, I take it back. I am going to interrupt you because I know we could do a 24 interview series and do a summit just on this.
Okay.
Because you ended up with this tremendous, incredible novel out of it. So the first question I want to ask you, because one of the things, part of the reason why your story intrigues me so much is, as entrepreneurs, one of the things most of us are trying to do is we're trying to get into our knowing about our messages, and we're trying to get into our knowing about, that we're sure of the things we're saying to the world, and we're sure of how we feel. And so I'm wondering, so in other words, sometimes we have messages even saying like happiness is the path to build your business. It's not hard work. I feel like I'm waving my freak flag. You know what I mean? And so how do you get comfortable waving your freak flag and saying, hey, I think I know this to be true. Like, I know this to be true. Is there anything that you can say to people to, like, how do you feel more comfortable sharing it with people and being out in the world in that way,
So I learned from the channel spirit teachers, when people have objections, that I had the experience because I had the perception and the desire. And I followed my own perception and desire. There were a couple of times in the writing when I got off track, and I didn't know that was the cause of being sick. And the spirit teachers brought me back and said, I turned my back on my purpose.
Wow, that's interesting. And what's so interesting about it is all of us can understand that we have our own perception and desires too. And they brought us here. The reason each of us started our businesses is because of our own perception and desire. So you sit down to write a novel about this. I'm wondering if you have any advice for the novelists out there about the best way to actually finish a novel. And I know you're going to say to me, well, I'm not finished, but I know you're finished. You're just rewriting and rewriting. So you don't get to say that. Yes. It's coming out. You're going to be able to get it, y'all.
Yes. So it is finished, but it's too many words, and now I have to tighten the words. This was the never-ending story. I kept meeting people from that life, and they're the ones that told me who they were,
Tell
including
me,
Pontius Pilate.
I know I was going to say, why don't you tell the Pontius Pilate story? Because when I heard that, I was like, that's some
Okay,
wild stuff.
okay. After the Chandler said, "Dear, you were his daughter," I accepted it with emotion, but intellectually, the next day, I'm still going, I don't know. Do I have to be her? I want to be her because she was popular, but she was also exiled. Do I want to be? History says bad things about her. History says that she seduced every old man in the Senate. And I knew when I read that that's not me. That's just not me, even in another time. So I was standing at my kitchen sink in the winter. Everything was frozen. I was looking out the window and I'm washing the dishes and I'm thinking, I couldn't have been her. She knew famous people. She knew Augustus Caesar and Herod the Great and on and on and on and on and Pontius Pilate. And then I thought, uh-oh. In college, I took what I thought would be an easy class, the Life of Christ class. And my assignment was to write a story as if I had been there in that time. And I wrote a story about what a good guy Pontius Pilate was. And then I spent 20 years saying, why did I write that story?
Wow.
So at my
Interesting.
kitchen sink, I said to the universe, okay, if this is true, if I was Julia, prove it. Bring me Pontius Pilate. 1 year later, to the same week, this happened on the vernal equinox. 1 year later, I'm at my kitchen sink. We're about to have a potluck, and I see the front gate open and a friend of mine coming in with a very tall, distinguished looking black man. I thought, oh, I've never seen him before, but I know him. I know who that is. And he came in and he was introduced and everyone was talking. He was Reverend so-and-so. And I stood right there beside him and I said, that's not your name. That's not the name I know you by. But so many people were happy and joyous and talking all at once. Nobody heard me say that. And then later, as the evening progressed, his story came out to the whole group. He looked around everyone, I think, checking out whether he wanted to reveal this information or not. And he said when he was recently in Jerusalem, he had an awakening. And before that, he had an awakening in Rome at the Colosseum, that he had been in Rome before, and then in Jerusalem, that he had been there. And he had hints about being Pontius Pilate. But when he went home to his home church, in the meantime, was Easter, and they had cast him in the role of Pontius Pilate in the Easter play, in the church
Wow.
story.
Wow,
And
that's
he
just
had bought
wild.
the costume for it while he was in Jerusalem. But
Wow, that's just wild.
things,
I have to say, Sandy, when you tell me these things, there's so many things that go through my head that relate to what we're doing here as entrepreneurs as well. And I just want to start with, you've said several times as you've been telling your story that you're kind of like putting out, to God or the universe or spirit or source or whatever, it could even be your brain. You're saying, like, show me something that gives me this. And what I'm wondering is, it almost feels like you keep asking for that and you keep getting evidence and more evidence to the point where you get solidified in your knowing. And so do you think that there's a way, like, would you recommend to people to say, like, show me a sign kind of a thing? Or is there any tips you would give on
sure,
how
sure.
to do that? Like, do you have to be sure you'll get one? Like, what are the steps? What are the steps to getting a sign? If somebody wants a sign, I want a sign that says, is this thing I'm feeling really true? Do you just ask?
You just ask. And you don't go around following, you're asking, and looking, you just wait for it to show up. You sit back, you relax, you wait for somebody else, whoever, your spirit guides, the universe, God, whatever is in your comfort zone. Wait for them to pull it together, because sometimes things take time.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Well, and do you feel like this asking and like if I were to use my terms, it would almost be like setting your intention, asking, and then having the positive expectation that it will
Yeah.
come. And so what I'm wondering is I'm guessing that this is probably how you found your editors. This is how you found
Yeah.
somebody who you've known in past lives, but who's incarnate here. This is how you've connected with people who can help you get this novel out in the world, is by following this path of asking and then
Mhm.
trusting the answer, but having the positive expectation that it will come,
Mhm.
right? I mean, is this how you're
Yeah.
using mindset, or do you find that you're using mindset in other ways to take this journey that you're on?
Like anybody, I have to remind myself to use mindset. I have a treasure map on my wall with all kinds of goodies on it, like a sign that says, "Go forth and set the world on fire."
Oh, everybody write that down. That's a good one.
Or, "What would you attempt to do if you knew you could not fail?"
I love that question.
That
It's
one's
so
there too.
powerful.
I
Mhm.
have, I also made my mindset more obvious by creating my room with all the goodies that will inspire me, the things that work. I studied feng shui, not too formally, but enough to know, okay, I need a globe in this corner. There's a globe in the corner, so my story will go worldwide. There's
Nice.
yeah, there's a statue of Augustus, well, there's a picture of Augustus Caesar there, and a picture of him there, and different things that speak to me, that ground me in my sacred writing space. Think of it as a sacred writing space.
Nice. I
It's not
love
a
that.
place for other people to have free for all. It's your thinking place. And
I really like that terminology, sacred writing space.
mhm.
How if somebody wanted to write a novel, what inspiring words could you give them to actually sit down and do it and get it done?
Keep your fanny in the chair.
Right. Isn't that
Um,
the truth?
um, yeah, I had to make my room comfortable because I started out with a folding wooden chair and I couldn't figure out why I didn't want to sit there and write. It was uncomfortable.
Oh,
So I got a big executive chair. This is my third executive chair. I've worn the others out.
nice. I love it.
Get yourself a computer. I had one. I didn't use it. I was afraid of it. I was intimidated. I was writing on big yellow legal tablets until one day the spirit teacher said, "You know what the purpose of a nail is, and you know the purpose of a hammer. If you had 100 nails, would you need 100 hammers?" And I thought, oops, okay.
I don't need 100 computers, but one would do just fine.
Yeah.
Ah,
So I got guidance from writing classes, writing teachers, books, magazines about writing. Join a writer's critique group. Find a
nice.
group of positive people, not too big, 6 is a good number of people to help you. And the one thing I love about writers is they support other writers. It doesn't matter what everyone's subject is, what they're writing. I don't write horror stories, but I'm all in favor of helping anybody who does.
Right.
And writers' conferences are a place where there's a couple hundred people like that. And
Wow.
they all
Right.
care about what you are doing. And then you learn
That's
from them.
That's really nice. It's like immerse yourself in it. You know, it's almost like that idea of if you want to be a novelist, then start acting as if you already are. Like start doing the things that novelists do, going to these events,
Right.
doing these things, you know.
Mhm.
It's just so rich. I mean, you know, I of course, and I'm sure everybody, you're all stimulated and want to hear more from Sandy. I know that. And it's just such interesting topic, Sandy. And I just appreciate so much that you are and I'm sure you have your moments too, but for the most part, you're pretty unwavering in your knowing about this experience that you've had. And you've got the evidence, and you continue to ask for the evidence to really make you feel like you can go out in the world with a message that's powerful and that many people won't hear, but the ones that will hear it need to hear it. And that's your bravery in that, like just being able to go out and do that. If you could give us any parting words to everybody who's listening, if you had one last thing you could say to them, what would be your parting words about, really going forth and living their dream, whatever their dream is?
Be open to synchronicity. Be open to surprises. Be open to wonderful things you never imagined.
That message was for me. That was really good. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. I so appreciate you being here. How
Thank you.
good was that, everybody? Didn't you just love that? Oh my gosh. And so interesting. And don't you kind of want to like go out and have your own adventures and connect with Sandy and learn more? Well, remember, when you opt in, let me go in and show you this little link in the description here. Go on in, link in the description, and make sure to opt in for the summit, because when you opt in, you not only get the full calendar, you get freebies from Sandy and all of our other guests today. You get freebies from the sponsors. Let me tell you who is our sponsor for today's interview, because you get, do you remember how I was telling you about that every day we've got a different sponsor? Well, today we've got Carmen Cronquist. She has a template for the 9 keys to massive wealth and impact. 9 keys to massive wealth and impact. Yes, please. Go check it out. How do you do it? Link in the description. How would you be able to have a nice conversation with Sandy? How would you be able to tag her and hear more about what she's experiencing? Join the Positive Mindset Entrepreneurs Club. When you get in the club, you can tag her and you can say, you know what, I had my own experience, or I think this is weird, or I'm not sure if I'm doing this, or I would like to know how to navigate this, or what's the next step, or how do I find out? Well, join the club. We have people who have all types of backgrounds, all types of businesses. Sandy is a novelist. She's on her past life adventure. We have other writers in there who are nonfiction, and we have fiction writers. We have business experts. We have doodlers. We have artists. We have Reiki practitioners, animal communicators. I mean, I could go on and on and on. Business coaches, money coaches. I mean, you name it. Go in and find your people. And where do you do it? The Positive Mindset Entrepreneurs Club. Look for the link in the description to sign up, and I will send you this pen in the mail. This is the pen of expectation. Whatever you write with it will come true, and I will send it worldwide. Now, sit tight, because, I got to give this one because this is so good. Remember Sandy's favorite mantra? She said too many to mention, which we can all identify with that, right? But she often says a little prayer like, God bless my hearing, vision, or legs that carry me. Isn't that a good idea? That's a first one I've heard on that one. I just love that. So good. Next up, now we're coming back up here in 30 minutes, and I'm going to be with Annie Harmon. Now, Annie Harmon is an elite business coach, and she's really going to hone in on feminine leadership and also talk about systems that make your business perform better. She is a systems, oh my gosh, she's so tight on her systems. You would not believe it. I'm going to tell you all about it when we come back here with her. But she's also got some really interesting stories about feminine leadership, how women lead, and how you can grow your business in a faster way by leaning into it. So we're going to have a fantastic discussion. I hope you've been enjoying this summit as much as I have. I've been getting so much out of it and so many good nuggets. And I will be back here in 30 minutes with the next interview. We'll be seeing Annie then. The Joypreneur Summit continues. I really appreciate you all. See you soon.